Okay, let's get started. Questions?
Mickey, how surprised were you by Tyron's announcement? And we talked to him about it.
Yeah, we had a little advance notice on that, so it wasn't like we were surprised today. I'm a little surprised, but we had some advance notice and just have so much respect for Tyron and what he's accomplished. And I mean, he's a legendary Louisiana player, legendary NFL player. Really appreciate his time with us. He was fantastic, and I don't have enough good things to say about him. I have a lot of good things to say about him. What a great career, and just wish him all the best. Yeah, I just think he's one of those guys that just commands respect by his actions and his deeds. He's got great message. He's very thoughtful, intelligent, super smart player, about all the right things, on the football field and his experiences in life. And he was just fantastic.
When you say you had advance notice, do you mean more than when you say you had advance notice, did you mean more than a couple of days? And might you have done?
No, I think this just came up in the last few days. Right.
Might you have done things differently in the offseason?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Maybe to try to talk him into.
No, I wouldn't do that to especially a player of his experience, and he understands himself better than anyone, and so I wouldn't do that.
Well, you guys look to add someone there, or is it more on maybe what you have and those guys stepping up toward now the center?
Yeah, we'll look and if there's somebody available that can help us, we'll do that certainly.
Mickey, how are you feeling about camp? You're
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah, really.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, man, there's an excitement about having, new coaching staff and a lot of changes. We have the quarterback battle that we're going to be observing during this training camp. I think that's exciting to have. There's a lot of newness about that, and I'm really excited about how the offseason went. Excited about Kellen and his staff, and I'm just anxious to get going and see how it all unfolds.
You combine what just happened with Tyron, unexpected Derek Carr development earlier this offseason. I know you have never willingly wanted to have any sort of rebuild, or you don't need that word, but is there something about once you realize that this, is a younger team, could take a little while? I mean, does that shift at all? How aggressively you want to try to be all in?
Yeah, I think Derek not playing, that gives us a chance to reset in terms of some of the financial repercussions that we have, and but I think we're always in the mode of we're trying to win every game. We're not. I don't look at it as a rebuild, even though you might say, we got a lot of developing positions of development, I should say, a lot of young players that we want to develop, and I'm excited about that. But at the same time, look, there's always an opportunity for things to fall in place and be successful. We're going to try to win every game.
What gives you confidence that this roster is constructed heading into training camp can really compete for the NFC South?
Yeah, I think we're going to find out. We're going to find out where we're at. I know we have a lot of talent on the team, but we have a lot of young talent that's developing, and I think we have a coaching staff that can develop young players and put guys in the position to be successful. I do think we've got a nice mix of veteran players that can still play at a high level, and so I'm just anxious to see how it all unfolds.
You still see this year as kind of like a transition?
Well, clearly it's a transition because we've got to we're going to have a change at quarterback, and that's obviously the most important position on the field for any team.
What were you looking for out of that battle? How were you trying to measure the day-to-day and all that?
I think there's so many variables that it's kind of hard to just sit here and dictate them. I thought we saw a lot of good things during the off season, and yet we're not playing tackle football in the off season. So I think these, this training camp period, particularly the preseason games, are going to be really important in determining who the starter is.
What kind of input do you have in that, or will you expect to have in that? Have you and Kellen sort of worked out, sort of how the relationship's going to play?
Yeah, I think that's that's ongoing, but it's been really super positive so far. And look, who becomes the starter, who's playing, that's a coaching decision. It's always been a coaching decision. But we're going to have our input. We're going to have, Kellen's really good about asking a lot of guys in the building their thoughts. And he's just collecting information, not just from his staff, but from the personnel staff, from myself, and so he can make the best decision in determining who's actually going to end up playing.
Mickey, you guys haven't really done this ever that I can recall in a long time with the young quarterback. Why the decision not to bring in the veteran and let
Yeah.
the young guys get on set?
No, I think, number one, I think we like the guys that we have. There's only so many reps available. And look, one of the reasons that you bring in a veteran guy behind is just that experience level. And yet we've got Kellen, we've got Scott Tolzien, we've got Doug, all have been experienced. All our experienced NFL quarterbacks. And so we have some of that built into our staff that, a lot of staffs don't necessarily have. So, yeah.
And would you treat that different? I mean, is the whole reset question we were discussing earlier a little different? If this was a team that was maybe built differently, would you need the safety net of someone who could step in and
Yeah.
would start?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought of it in terms of that. I just thought about it in terms of, hey, we like these guys. We know they're young. We know they're inexperienced, but let's develop what we have and go from there.
Mickey, given that they are both younger quarterbacks, is there any
There's 3 of them.
Is there any is there any urgency or the benefit of maybe declaring one sooner than later so you can kind of get all in behind them and tailor it forward?
Now, I think the most important thing here is not speed; it's accuracy. And so we're going to give these guys a chance to battle it out, and we'll go from there, and however long that takes.
How does the franchise go about supporting a young quarterback? Are there things you have to do differently because Drew was here so long and part of that?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question to answer because you're always wanting to, have a good defense and have a good running game and have a good O-line. And those are the things that, any quarterback can benefit from. I think for the younger quarterback, part of that is just making sure you're going through all the steps, that you don't get too complicated. You don't put too much on the plate early. So there's some things that certainly you do for younger quarterbacks that you wouldn't do for the veteran guy. But remember this, this staff and this offense and the schemes that we're going to be doing, it's new to everyone here. That's what happens when you have a new staff. So we're all learning together.
I know it took a little longer, but how important was it to get Tyler's deal done on time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was important. I was never worried that it wasn't going to get done on time, but look, there was some nuance in that second round, and it's getting worked out. And I'll be surprised if all or at least the majority of second rounders aren't signed before training camp starts for all of our teams.
Did the Houston-Cleveland situation catch you by not surprise, or had you kind of seen this inching its way up over the last?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, it was. Otherwise, all the guys would have been signed. So, but that's their decision. So we just react to where the round is and as a whole. But it's all fine. It worked out.
Is there any limitation or restrictions with Chris Olave? I mean, this will be the first time he's had contact.
Yeah. No, he's full go.
Do you see the guarantees in the second round as a trend over the next few years? Like, do you anticipate within, 5 years or so, all the second round picks will be fully guaranteed?
That's the trend. That's where it's going, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's where it's going.
How about Taysom and Foster and those guys?
Yeah, they're going to start out on PUP, but look, it's been all positive.
Mickey, how would you describe Kellen Moore's personality? We had a bunch of video
Yeah.
from OTAs and minicamp of just him sort of laughing and smiling.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in the middle of practice. How would you describe sort of who he is and how he handles the job?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of it in terms of describing it, but look, he's look, what comes across, he just loves football, right? He loves the process. He loves football, loves the game, loves everything about it. And I think one of his strengths is that he makes it fun. He makes the process fun. And I don't think he takes himself too seriously, but he's super smart. He's got a great work ethic. He's about being collaborative. And so he's about all the right things for sure.
When you said he's asking a lot of people their opinions, is that something that maybe hasn't always been the case? And I'm not saying that as criticism,
No.
but hasn't always been the case with other guys?
No, I think the coaches we've had have all been very collaborative and want, they want other opinions. So I wouldn't say that it's different. Maybe the approach is different. But we've been fortunate in that regard.
How do you think
Foster and Taysom the only ones you expected to start on PUP?
Yes.
Mickey, you get different players, different positions who have been here in years past, last year on, have all said there's more energy in the building, more energy. I mean, is there anything you see different from when they say energy, there's more excitement? Anything you see different?
Yeah. I think there's always energy when you have, a new staff and things are new and things are different. So I think that just comes with, having a new staff. I would have said the same thing, Dennis Allen's first year. I certainly would say the same thing, back when, in 06, when in Sean's first year. I think the newness brings some of that. And I think we have a staff that's, we have the entire staff. It feels like there are really a lot of high energy guys that want to make the process fun for the players. And it's been really good.
What kind of difference do you expect over the course of the season? How does that fun and excitement kind of pay off as the year goes along with tougher?
Yeah, I think that it's the themes of if it's fun and you're together, it's good chemistry and you trust each other, you play for each other. It's all all those themes that successful teams talk about after the fact. That doesn't just come naturally. You have to work at that, and so that's what you do. You make it fun, you make it enjoyable, you do it together. It doesn't mean it's easy, but you're doing it in a way that builds team chemistry.
All coaches believe in team. Right?
Yeah.
But where would you say Kellen is on that list? It feels like it's more of a priority.
I think,
It's a new team,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think anytime, again, we get right back to new staff and you're trying to set a culture, your vision for the culture. And so, part of that is how do you build team chemistry? You do it through shared experiences, right? And you want those shared experiences to be positive. And I think there's a particular emphasis on that with Kellen. And I think all coaches do that, but they may approach it a little differently.
I kind of have a long-winded question, I apologize. So you've been here forever.
Thank you.
The expectations, obviously, after a championship, when you all won 15 years ago, were championship. That's
Yeah.
a championship or bust. You had a veteran team with a coach that had been here a long time. The expectations were playoffs. Not that you don't want to have expectations, because teams like Houston a couple of years ago with C.J. Stroud made the playoffs, what Washington did last year. But do you almost kind of follow on what Mike asked, temper expectations, knowing the inexperience that you had? Is it fair or unfair to ask that?
Yeah, I think most of the time the expectations come from outside the building. I think inside the building, you always have this expectation of being the best team you can be. And the ceiling or the floor for that is really, that's stuff that you guys and the media and fans talk about more so than what we talk about. We still have the same philosophies, the same goals inside the building. You know, our goal is to win the NFC South, work towards a Super Bowl. I don't think that teams really think about expectations. They think about goals and how do we get there? So I don't know that I'm answering that question, but you're asking a question about expectations, and yet I'm telling you that every team, I don't think expectations is the right word inside the building. I think it's more about having goals and aspirations.
Is there ever a point, like from your chair though, when you're looking at the future and being in a reset, so to speak, where you look at, hey, next year, maybe embracing the rebuild of it, and all right, is there a benefit of winning 6 games, or is it better for us to maybe try to win them all, but set it up so that maybe it's 4 and we're picking a little bit?
I don't believe in that. I believe you go in doing everything you can to be successful, to win every game. And then you deal with the consequences of the season afterwards. Yet, look, I also recognize we've got a young team here. We've got a lot of developmental pieces, and the most important position in the building is inexperience. And so that's the reality of it. So we have to be, we can't put our head in the closet and not recognize that. We do recognize that. And so we have to be particularly good in a lot of other areas. And develop the quarterback.
That said, like the expectations, like you see lists this time of year. ESPN the other day had like the roster is like the last ranked roster.
Yeah.
Odds are at the number 1 pick. You guys are being different. Obviously, I don't think you believe that. What do you think like the disconnect is?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to that. That's other people, most of them unqualified, making those comments.
This might be another one of those things that exists really outside for you than inside. But the idea of team identity, so having a young team, a young roster, and things like that. Does that make it more challenging to build a team identity? And if not, like, where do you see sort of as a team?
No, I think that's what that's what training camp and this whole off season and training camp and the season. That's what it's for. It's not something that happens overnight. I mean, look what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes did in Detroit. That didn't happen overnight. It happened over the span of three years. And so, inside the league, we recognize that doesn't always happen overnight. Occasionally it does happen within the span of a short time, but most of the time it takes a while to build that.
Do you embrace that? Do you embrace the fact that, if we're being realistic, this is not a 1-year reset. That was the word you used before.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be 2 or 3 years. Like, are you okay with saying that? With like embracing that this is not a 1-year reset. It's going to take a couple of years to get us where we want to be.
I think that gets back to aspirations versus expectations, right? The expectations out there is that it's going to take a long time, but our goals are still the same. Our goals are to win every game and to win the NFC South, and that's what we're working towards. So what you're asking is kind of this intangible thing that you guys think about, but I don't know that we think about it in those terms.
When you mentioned having to be good in other areas, with obviously experience at quarterback, now with obviously Tyrann's retirement right before the start of training camp, how do you feel about the depth of the secondary? With that? Yeah,
I think part of that is, hey, are the younger guys that we have developing? How quickly are they going to develop? I think we have the makings of a really good offensive line, for example. We put a lot of resources there, but there's some development that needs to take place. We have young offensive tackles, and we have a great center, and Trevor's moving to guard. So we've got some moving pieces there, but I think we believe that we've got a lot of talent there, and this could be a really, really good offensive line and can be a strength of our team. How long that takes, we'll see. There's a lot of elements on defense that we feel the same way about. So that's what training camp's all about, to see how quickly that comes together. and how quickly that gels, that'll determine how successful we are.
Mickey, I understand this is probably part of the process every year, but just considering all the injuries you went through last year.
Yeah.
How much of a reset did you guys take this offseason, just kind of evaluating what you're doing, how you're doing it, and trying to course correct it? Obviously, Ted Rattler is a big part of that.
Yeah, he's a huge part of that, and that's been really one of the really bright spots I think of this offseason is to see how we've attacked that issue, and how that's come together, and we'll see the results as we go forward. We'll see how effective that is. We're going to have injuries, we know that, but hopefully we can minimize some of the things that we've had in the past, and particularly in the soft tissue area.
Can you get into like what that means, like what sort of effort kind of went into that?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of analytical information. It's a lot of load management, a lot of assessment of each individual player. So it's really a lot of things, a lot of variables. But so far it's been really, really positive. And he's had a good history of effective results in the places that he's been.
You've got to change a director of rehabilitation as well this offseason. Can you tell us a little bit about what stood out to you about Garrett and the hiring?
Yeah, that came about because Jonathan, who we loved, got an opportunity to basically run his own program. And so, went through a number of candidates and came up with what we think was the best guy, and he's been fantastic so far.
You mentioned Taysom Hill will start on the pup list, but all conversations with him, he's definitely going to play this year. He's definitely going to be medically on schedule on time to play by week 1 and all that.
Well, I don't know about the timing, but everything's been really positive for both he and Foster.
Jimmy Graham obviously, announced his retirement. I guess what does he mean to you in this organization?
Jimmy's fantastic, and one of the really great things in the last few years was him coming back and playing for us another year, and I just appreciate him so much, and I'm excited that he wanted to retire as a Saint. Excited about what the future holds for him. He's such a talented guy, not just in football, but in all walks of life. And I think, what did he row across the Arctic Ocean or something crazy? Not your typical off-season activities, but what a fantastic player and a fantastic guy he is. So looking forward to seeing him again soon.
Just to clarify, Jimmy, has he signed anything yet with you guys?
Well, you don't need to do that. Look, his last team was was the Saints, and he'll be in the Saints Hall of Fame and on the Ring of Honor at some point, and all those things that come with being the great player that he was.
Mickey, we talked about how it's a young team, and we've also got to make up with some older guys.
Yeah.
Tyron and Derek both retiring this offseason. How important is it for you all, and maybe you've already identified some younger players that can step into that leadership role and be the next Mario Davis and Tyron?
Yeah, I think that we've got some guys, and I'm not going to name them individually, but we've got some young players that have those kind of traits, and they've got great role models like Cam and DeMario, and there's some others as well. That can step into those roles when those guys are ready to step out of it. But I think that gets back to when we go through the process of bringing players in, going through the character, going through trying to, get guys that were captains in college and were leaders on their team, and making sure that we had a lot of those guys that can eventually fill that role. So I feel good about that in terms of the future. And
Do you talk to the team tomorrow? Do you personally?
No, I don't.
Do you have is there any point during camp that you do schedule, or it just happens?
No, it happens in the off season occasionally, and I pick and choose my spots.
What was your approach to the defensive line this offseason?
Yep.
Acquired, just guys did a lot of things at that position. What was kind of the philosophy?
Yeah, I think, we're, scheme change, getting guys that fit what Brandon wants to do with the defense and identifying the traits that the guys that we have and how they're going to fit. That was important. And then, availability too is important. What's available in terms of free agents, what can we get in the draft? And so that's what dictates it. Trying to create depth.
What are your expectations going into the first day of training camp? Maybe not expectations, aspirations.
There you go. Good get. That's a good catch. I think just having a great camp, seeing the young players develop, seeing how our guys adapt to, the new coaching staff and the schemes that they want to, establish with our team. That's going to be important. And look, that process has already happened in large part in the off season, but look, I'm anxious to get started and see where guys are.
You've been part of seasons that, like, where the aspirations have maybe exceeded.
Now everybody's using aspirations, right?
You're never gonna hear expectations.
You're not gonna take the bait on expectations.
Yeah.
But, like 2000, 2006, where the seasons were, like, everyone thought you were rebuilding on the Spurs. Like, what does it take in those types of seasons to, surpass expectations or meet those level of aspirations that you have?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think you get back to chemistry. Do the guys, do you feel like a group comes together with new players, new staff? Do they, immediately buy in? Do you have great chemistry? Are they playing for the right reasons? All those things that, you catch lightning in a bottle sometimes. We did that in 2006, right? And, teams can do that. So that all happens during the course of the off season and training camp. And then you have to stay healthy too. Listen, health in our league is a really important factor, because if you can't keep your best players on the field, then your chances of being successful quickly diminish.
Do you talk to them about that? Or do you just, like, that's another chapter, that's another time in another place? Or do you talk to Kellen and these coaches about, in 2006, catching lightning? I remember the preseason, and then all of a sudden the regular season started. And
Right.
It was a much different type of
Yeah, I think that all of these guys, their experience, they've been on teams or been part of teams that have done that, and they've been part of teams that had higher aspirations and went the other direction. So we've all been part of those teams, and you just recognize that what happens or that what can happen. And so, we haven't had discussions about that specifically, no.
What about, the older guys who are still on the roster?
Mhm.
Mario, Cam, what do you think they can still contribute?
Yeah, look, I think, I would say the same thing to what happens with those players is, man, we want them to play as long as they can. And both those guys have demonstrated that they can still play. And so that's what we're looking to see it. What did Sean used to say? I don't have to see it every day, but I still got to see it in training camp. And so that's the case for every veteran player, with every team, is that, hey, you want to make sure that they can still play at a high level. And you want to set them up for that success too. So that's what we'll be looking to do. What else?
Do you design the gold uniforms?
Say that again.
Do you have a hand in the gold uniforms?
Let me reserve my comments on the gold uniforms till I see them on our players.
Is there something exciting about that though?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think that there's, I think there is, something different. But I love our traditional uniforms so much that I like all of it. Every once in a while, there's something that we'll see and don't like that, but for the most part, I like all of it. All right.
Thanks.
Yep. No questions about California?
Are you excited to go to California?
Well,
Excited about the weather?
yes.
What are your expectations for California?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Hot tech.
Oh, it is.
Space.
Oh, yeah.
So that's hot tech.
Hey, Peter.
Fine, how are you?
Yeah.
So,
I'm not saying it. Every year.
Oh. No, I tried to look into that, but then I stopped. They've been like pretty much the shit for Right.
Yes, of course, of course.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better? Is that better? Better? Okay.
You're trying to get in.
I'm in.
I was like,
Yeah.
that was. No, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Holy seven. They were.
I'll make sure.
Who's the bathroom? That place was, great. So, yeah, out there, just like, awesome.
August. Green space.
Lucas back.
Thankfully, days of place. Like,
Potentially go by parts of stuff.
5 minutes, like,
Yeah. They were like, they had a party at different houses, but like nowhere did they say, we could hear the party, or they didn't.
Thankfully,
Lots
it's
of
like,
plans.
it's like I didn't undo my shoes.
Just because we lived so much there.
So that's like,
It's seeing Sean Zan's workouts, and I gotta go do something, and then I was gonna get myself a line.
My shoulder.
it holds on itself.
Wasn't it like old buildings?
But yeah, a couple days of,
Yeah,
a couple days of just walking.
And now it's a place. People just.
But I'm gonna make it do one day of that.
I don't know, if we're making it one session.
Yeah.
There have been a few times I've gone there in the park.
Nice office.
What they do.
I do remember which ones they were. Sorry.
I'm sure there's nothing that's probable.
I used to,
Yeah, it's
I got
great.
super into socks to get sense, but.
That is where you're
Something
talking
like
about,
that. Yeah, I'm so good. So I was in graduate, so many of the things that we did like dance studios and stuff like that, so we weren't able to wear shoes. And so I couldn't wear nice shoes most of the time, because they weren't just gonna be cast off. So I started buying socks.
Well, what's in office, Jeff?
That became my individual business.
That's, I was there the other day, it was like.
I love these socks.
That's not very.
There's no way to say that. You know what I mean?
There is no way. I would agree with that. I'll have
I was gonna get one and then I don't know. Yeah, that's like maybe your name.
Yeah, I know. They're my favorite ones.
Because you'd also need to be a big sock guy.
Yeah.
Like, see yourself.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I always felt it was right there. I have all of my shoes.
All my running
My
shoes.
full ground.
Same.
Wow.
Same.
Mine's right. I think because I do this with my toe a lot.
Or do you do that because you have.
No, I do it. That's what crazy. I can bend this to that.
I always think about those as your whole outfit.
Yeah. They're not great in the rain.
Yeah, you know, it's okay. It's okay to get injuries.
No, I have feelings. It's just something about beans that just regulation. Is it? No, some shoes are more bouncy than others. Because I am not a border. And Jamie is like whatever the opposite of a border is. Like if you haven't used it in 2 days, throw it away. Yeah.
And I don't. There's not even tap on some of your with so
I'll do today we have Mickey or do you want to?
Well, like Jamie. Okay, first. Need a shirt.
It's not a read,
Right,
but
he's like lines at the end, but he was like,
what's expected of
Chatly. Decide a shirt. Then you make a shirt. Then you figure out who's hosting. Then you make a shirt. It was almost like the top priority was like shirt.
Yeah.
And it's like that basketball team, 26. And Jamie would drop all that stuff away. I got a giant attic. And then it was cool because he's like, 26 shirts. And I went to the attic and I found out, I have a basketball jersey. For this stupid ass 26. Ed was our best league coach. I played one of the JP rec leagues. We'll play a couple of them.
Yeah. So they seem like you keep like.
Well, he probably remembers last year.
Yeah, that's big. So for me, that's leaving the house at 7:45. I'm in
That's what it is. Well, maybe one.
Kellen's on the way.
That was really.
Right. Oh, yeah. So, right.
That's really trouble.
Oh, no, there's inconvenience. I bring Quentin to work, my son. Bring him to work 3 days a week at 7 o'clock. There we go.
Good to go, guys. I'll just open up with a couple little thoughts here. Just really excited about the opportunity to get this training camp started. This is going to be a really fun process. We built an awesome foundation over the course of certainly the off-season program through the beginning in April with these guys. And so, it's been a really good process. Ultimately, we were evaluated in pads 3+ hours on Sundays. And so we're getting closer to that. And that's what training camp's all about, the physical components. And so it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be great to be back here in Metairie, to be doing training camp out here with our fans in this community. We're really excited about it. Obviously, Mickey hit a lot of the roster components here. So obviously, Tyron retiring, just spectacular NFL career. His work ethic, playmaking skills, the impact he had on this community and this league, just incredible. And so, really, he had a huge impact. Then obviously we have two guys that'll start on PUP, Taysom and Foster. So we should be good to go there. We'll see how that progresses and open up for any questions. Yeah. I mean, Tyron, the game when I was in Philly last year, he had an interception in the red zone, and it was really about just his awareness and feel for the game. And so, he's such an impactful player because of his understanding and feel for the game. And, he'd make some moves that surprise you in challenging ways. And so, obviously he'll be missed.
Kellen, when you played, how tough is it difficult to retire from the game?
Yeah, the retirement's never easy for any of these guys. I think, you grow up playing this game for a really long time. You build up to this NFL experience, and it's such a phenomenal high. And ultimately for everyone, at some point it ends, either by your own choosing or by someone else's choosing. And so I think, a lot of guys, Tyron is certainly one of those guys that has to go through that process. And I think a lot of times you got to make sure you emphasize the celebration component of it at the end, that he just had a phenomenal career.
Did you get to know him a little bit, and how would you describe him in the locker room with the younger guys?
Yeah, just a little bit, obviously. He was on the back end of OTAs, and so phenomenal person, great character. You can tell that he cares about his teammates, he cares about the younger guys, raising those guys up, and so obviously he had a huge impact on this place.
Did the timing of it kind of catch you by surprise with training camp about to be started, and obviously the impact it'll have on the depth chart?
We had it was a little bit of a surprise, but obviously sometimes these things happen as you go into training camp and coming off the summer break. And so, we had enough heads up and some awareness there that, we'll be fine. We'll continue to find ways to navigate this as we go.
How much does this impact you guys as coaches? Like, even since the day you got here till now, it kind of feels like it's like a whole different path, a whole different team. Like, how do you guys adjust with it?
Yeah, that's what the NFL is. It's about adjustments, whether it's personnel or schematically. And so you understand that, you have plans in place and you have to adjust. And, I think overall that safety position, we got some younger players, some guys who've been there through the whole offseason process that have done just a phenomenal job. We're excited for those guys, and we'll continue to evaluate roster acquisition as we go.
Going into your first training camp as a head coach, like, have you kind of been game planning, like, how you would approach this in this role for a while, or is it something that you kind of put together just,
I think certainly you take a lot of notes as you go through this process over all these years. Every place has great things, and you get to pull from all those different experiences and exposures, and you get to team up with a group of people to come up with what we feel like is a really, really good training camp that pushes our guys, challenges them, but ultimately gets them ready for Sundays in the fall. And so we feel great about it. We're excited for it, and ready to just get started.
Kind of going off that, you worked with a lot of great coaches. Did you
give any of them kind of a call to, get some advice on how you exactly want to structure things? I know you said you pulled some notes from others, but did you talk to any and get some advice?
I'd just say, yeah, I think in the coaching profession, it's a very busy profession, but summer is usually your chance to catch up with a lot of people. And so certainly there's a lot of people who you get to have conversations with just to check in with them and maybe share a few notes and observations from everyone's experiences.
How would you manage, obviously?
What's that?
Did you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, my dad certainly, he's retired, but certainly he's a part of this as well. And it's always fun to have him out here.
How will you, obviously the big question will be
Yeah.
your young quarterbacks. How do you plan on managing that? A rotation? Will it be all three? And just kind of where you are right now entering this process?
Yeah, so our plan is to go through a rotation process early in camp. We're kind of in this installation phase. We're really in the install phase, going through the schematics. We'll rotate these guys leading up to the Chargers game. And obviously we'll make the adjustments kind of once we get out of that first preseason game and go from there. And really excited about these guys. These guys have knocked it out of the park from the offseason program to the summers. It's a younger group, but they've just done a phenomenal job preparing themselves.
You said that you get a lot of opinions from a lot of different people, that you're a very collaborative head coach. When it comes to that quarterback battle, how many different people do you lean on, or do you kind of just ask everybody what they think as you're sort of forming your own opinion?
Certainly the people that are in the quarterback room will be the main guys that we talk to. And obviously from a personnel standpoint with Mickey and his group, we'll have plenty of conversations as we go through this. And these guys get plenty of opportunities, and we're excited for them.
What's your day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I'd say the physical stuff is obviously relevant. You want to see that they have the physical tools, which I think all these guys do. They'll do it. They'll knock that out of the park. I think as we go through this process, it's really about the operation, the decision-making, and the consistency. And, over the course of this whole entire training camp, there'll be a number of days. And the fun part about training camp is I think they're going to throw interceptions in preseason and in training camp, and that's okay. And that's part of the process. There's an element of you want to see them go through a bad day or go through a challenge and have to kind of come up and rise above that. And so I think that's what this training camp will provide.
What's your philosophy on a rotation? I know during OTAs and stuff, we didn't see Monday is Tyler's day and Tuesday is Spencer's day. Is it mix and match throughout sessions, or do you like to give each guy a day for one?
It will lean more towards a player per day with the first group, but there'll be a few things here and there, and that we'll rotate those guys a little bit just to make sure we're getting the right reps based off what we want for each day. But we'll try and get those guys some consistency. I think that's the biggest thing is you don't want these guys rotating to the point that they're just looking around figuring out, am I taking these next reps or not? You want them to have the comfort in knowing exactly what the expectation is for each day.
And will that be equally divided among three guys, or
Yeah, well, yeah. Certainly, we have a viewpoint for all three of those guys getting opportunities, and we'll see where it goes.
Following on that, OTAs, minicamp, there are some days where just with 2 wins, do you need all 4 to get reps every day, or is it some days there's going to be some guys getting throws and some days aren't?
Yeah, every day has different itinerary. Obviously, we'll try and get the top 3 guys as much as we can. Hunter's obviously not going to get as many just because we're navigating with those other guys right now. But we'll see how it goes. And obviously, it's a long training camp. There's preseason games, and so we'll make adjustments as we go.
Mickey talked about kind of narratives outside the building versus what you all talk about inside the building. One of the big narratives outside is you coach, you drafted a quarterback at 40, that's your guy. Do you have to talk to them about that in anywhere? Do they know everybody has an equal chance for this?
Yeah, I think we've been really consistent with our process with these guys. I think they're all on the same page. They understand the opportunity that's ahead of them. Let them all have the chance, have the opportunity to compete. I think that's all every player can ask for in this league. We'll certainly provide that for these guys, and really excited with where it's going to go.
I love Jake's reintroduction to this kind of factor into things now that he's healthy. Is he good to go?
Yeah, Jake's good to go. He'll hop in there. Obviously, unfortunate to miss most of the OTA process, but he did everything from a mental standpoint and preparing himself physically, and so I feel like he'll be in a good place to go for it.
Kellen, we've seen an approach a lot in the NFL where a team with a young quarterback will start the veteran for a little while, give the young quarterback more time, not to be thrown in, picturing Kobe Brissett and Drake May as recently as last year. Is there anything from your past experiences where you don't feel like that's necessary with a young quarterback to have someone else sort of give them a grace period?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of different paths. I think ultimately when a quarterback's ready and he's the top guy, he goes and plays, whether he's young, old, or anything in between. And so, yeah, I think from my experience, I've been with a lot of veteran quarterbacks. Dak did start as a rookie as a 4th rounder. He was ready and he went out there. And so there's a lot of different paths that these guys can take. I think the most important thing is just seeing those characteristics that we talked about, the consistency, the operation, and the decision making. See that each and every day, and it'll present itself, and we'll make the decision.
There were some mentions earlier this offseason about the offense sort of being built around or tailored to Tyler Shough. Are those conversations you're having with each of those 3 quarterbacks?
I think all these quarterbacks do a really good job. I think they all have the ability to make all the throws. I think they all have some element of athleticism that allows them to play off schedule and with their feet in the run game and the pass game. And so I think this will complement them all really, really well. And obviously, as you go, just like any position, we tailor stuff as we go. I think before the Chargers game, the main focus is really getting the foundation set, getting these guys experience, reps, all that sort of stuff from a schematic standpoint. And then we kind of shift gears coming out of the Chargers game to start heading towards the regular season and start making decisions that we have to make and starting to focus from a schematic standpoint what we want to be and some things that we want to navigate. And so we'll be able to utilize all this time to create that.
Would you prefer to have like a direction by them with the quarterback, like an ideal world, like those last couple 2 season games when you start failing?
I think anytime the decision becomes clear, we'll make the decision. We'll just roll with it, and that can happen whenever. We'll just kind of go through this process again. We'll see where it takes us. If it goes all the way to the end, it goes all the way to the end. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But these guys will have their opportunities.
Is that a preference? Would you rather get it done early if it's possible? Is there a goal in mind?
Anytime you can get more reps with guys that are on a consistent basis, there's always obviously value to that. So we'd love to get to that point. But again, there's got to be an element of patience here to go through a process that gives these guys opportunities. Again, I think you don't want to jump to conclusions too fast. Again, I think it's important that these guys go through some struggles at times, throw an interception in practice out here in Metairie and then respond the next series or the next day. Like we want them to go through those things. And those are all, things that you can evaluate and appreciate.
Kellen, Taysom Hill has such a unique skill set and package of offense. And then when you throw on top of the fact that you haven't been able to work with him on the field yet, how do you decide how you're going to incorporate it? Does that lessen maybe the idea of QB power packages and specific Taysom Hill packages?
I think it'll definitely be an ongoing process. Just working through that with Taysom, with us as we kind of go through this journey. The rehab's the most important process right now. That's what his focus is. But again, preparing him for the NFL season, and obviously the tools that he has are really, really special. His ability to play the quarterback position, to play multiple other positions, is really rare in this league. It's going to be a huge advantage for us. It's what has made him so special, and so we're excited to let the rehab process go. And then once he can start getting acclimated, we'll start building that as we go.
You said everything was really positive with that rehab process. Do you expect to get it back early in the year? And how exciting is that, just the possibility of getting it back early in the year?
We're really excited to get Taysom and Foster back. Now, when that comes, I'm not a medical guy, so I'm not going to jump to conclusions there. But I think it's important for these guys. They have to go through a physical recovery process and a mental recovery process, and that's real. A lot of guys in this league go through these injuries, and they're challenging for these guys. And so these guys have been working their tails off. It's so awesome to see them out here.
Is one ahead of the other?
We'll see. We'll just see how it goes. It's been a summer process, so they kind of do it independent of each other, and now they get back in the fold here.
Entering training camp, what makes you kind of confident in the roster where it's at now that it's one that can, obviously compete for the NFC South?
Yeah, really excited about the process that we've gone through. I think OTAs, our guys, just the effort, the connection, what they're building is really, really special. I think the play style is huge. We got guys who play really physical game. They're really smart players, and they play fast, and that's all we can ask for. And so we're really excited about it. We got a nice blend of some veteran guys who've been in this league for a long time that we can lean on, that have great experience, that can still play. And then we got some younger guys that are ready to rock and roll here in the NFL. And so it's going to be a fun process.
I think it's about depth on the defensive line. You got 3 guys, potential starters, who went there last year. How important will it be to get those reps with those 5 guys?
In which position? Offensive line, yeah. Offensive line is a great example of how important continuity is, and getting those guys repping as many reps as they can together. It's a non-communicated non-communicative position a lot of times. They're working in combinations, they're working together, and so that's a critical aspect of those guys. We're really excited about that process because now you're in pads, the run game comes alive, the play action game comes alive. OTAs is very kind of 7-on-7 focused, and so it'll be fun for those guys.
With given the fact that I know the Cowboys trained out like in Oxnard and you're from the Pacific Northwest of Philadelphia, this will probably be the hottest training camp I assume you've ever gone through. Do you lean into that and say, hey, I want to set a precedent and let these guys know, or do you back off knowing that that could maybe create soft tissue injuries? Just kind of where do you go in street like this?
I think a lot of conversations with our sports performance and medical crew, just making sure we're all on the same page. Obviously, you get to lean on some of those guys who've been here for a number of years that have gone through training camps here. This is a great advantage for us. It tests you. It puts you in a stress situation, which is a good thing. You need some of that in training camp. You need to stress the body and go through some stuff. And so it'll be a great opportunity for us. We're really excited about it. And then we'll have a little shift, in the middle of camp as we go out there around that Chargers preseason game and shift gears there as we go.
Going back to the offensive line, do you anticipate any kind of rotation with what the starting five looks like throughout training camp, or are you pretty set with where things were at the end of the camp?
We'll go through a rotation process. I think those guys need to go through different scenarios, just like we talked about with players and personnel. Like we have to go through a process where these guys have played other positions because over the course of the season, naturally, you're probably not going to have all five for every single game. So we'll let those guys compete. We'll rep them out. Obviously, continuity is very valuable, and we'll lean into that as much as we can, and we'll see where it takes us.
Are you kind of eager to see what that group looks like? It's like Mickey was talking about how he's excited about it, but you just don't know.
Yes.
Until you see it actually live.
Yeah, so much of just the way the offseason program is structured, once we now get into this padded period, the offensive line and defensive line, it's just really exciting to see it come alive and test those guys. And, it takes a couple days for these guys just to get used to pads because they haven't had them on since, January or February, whenever their season last occurred. And so it'll be a little acclimation period. They kind of got to get used to it. The pad level will be a little bit high. They got to get lower. They got to deal with it. But, it's a fun process.
Excited about the potential for that group? I mean,
yep.
First rounders and
Yep. We're really excited about what we can do, hopefully in the trenches with both sides of the ball.
Kellen, you believe in setting a tone first day? I mean, the message you want to deliver your team. What's your message to them in your first team meeting here as you're ready to go forward?
Yeah, just really making the objectives really clear as we go through training camp. This is about building yourself physically. That's the most important thing for training camp. This is one of the few times we get, 15, 16 padded practices, whatever it is, over the course of this training camp. And we got to use it because ultimately this game's played in pads. There's a physical component and there's a mental toughness component that we got to be able to prepare ourselves for. And so that's the most important part. The schematic part is important. We focus on fundamentals a ton each and every day. We'll build on our foundation of what we truly believe in from a core value standpoint. And we'll talk about some of the adjustments that we'll need in the season. The NFL season's really, really long. And you got to play a number of different styles. You got to expose yourself to a number of different ways. And so we'll try and do that through the course of this training camp. We'll continue to build our environment and our culture. And we'll make the roster evaluations when we need to.
Because you don't have a joint practice with another team, are those team periods going to be even more important for your staff, the evaluation?
Absolutely.
Go, get physical.
Absolutely. We don't have joint practices this year, but we'll be able to do some stuff, as a team, kind of complementing each other as we go through this process and allow ourselves to just get some exposure to some different looks, which I think will be very valuable.
Because of the abundance of the soft tissue injuries last year, sometimes it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey said, completely new, got trained staff. More of an individual assessment. I just wondering, is there anything kind of mandatory protocols that you want to see pre-practice, post-practice, kind of, ward off some of that stuff?
Well, I think we got some really phenomenal people who will help lead the charge on that, really from a prehab and a rehab standpoint, just putting ourselves in the plan of action for these guys. We'll start the day with practice, so it gives them plenty of time in the mornings to get ramped up and ready to go for practice. And then we got plenty of time on the back end, and so really hammering those important aspects of that. I think the schedule from a sports science standpoint allows them to just go for it each and every day in practice, and then when we bring it back, we bring it back. And so I think it's a really good plan put together that a number of the teams in this league have really emphasized that have had a ton of success in this league, and so we feel great about it.
Mandatory versus want to take part of it?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's just building a plan for all these guys. It's an individualized plan. Every player is different, but building a plan with the sports performance, the medical, the nutrition, how important all that aspect is to build these guys up the right way. And there's an acclimation period built into these training camps that we kind of ramp up as we go, which I think allows these guys to get ready and go.
This may be dumb, but how does like a quarterback competition actually work? You mentioned like rotating every day, but is there a certain amount of reps every day that you try and hit? Like, how does it kind of?
I think as you go through this process, the reps, it's not going to be exactly equal. Life's not fair sometimes. So we'll go through this process. We'll try and get as many reps as we can for these guys. Again, put them in different scenarios, different groups. I think sometimes putting the guy in the first group, putting the guy in the second group or the third group, whatever it may be, and putting them around different players will be good to test them. And, we'll go through this process again. I think give the full exposure leading up to the Chargers game. Obviously the Chargers game, we'll see how that progresses, and then we'll make the adjustments from there.
How far ahead, maybe this is a crazy question too, sorry, like compartmentalizing training camp, knowing you got to find a quarterback, you've got position battles, versus like looking ahead as well, thinking of a plan, because I think like 3 of your first 4 games are against some pretty good defensive coordinators with Arizona and Seattle and Buffalo, knowing that as a young coach you'll be tested against other good coaches, or is that just something that's so far down the road, kind of compartmentalize it, worry about that?
We will do some work on the back end of training camp as we focus on the season. Just again, there's a lot of different defenses and structures and opponents that you're going to play, and you want to prepare yourself the best you can. And so we'll utilize some of the back end of training camp to kind of focus on some of the different things that'll come up during the season, especially early on.
Things you have to do as a coaching staff to like support a young quarterback too. I think he was talking about every quarterback would want like a good run game. When you are dealing with young guys like this, like how does that change your approach?
Yeah, I think it's just getting a feel for them as players, and so getting comfortable with them getting comfortable with you, and then understand what their strengths are and trying to embrace those and put them in the best position to be successful, comfortable. That's a really important aspect of this, and that'll be a journey through training camp.
How is the Chris Olave's health situation as far? I mean, Mickey said he's full go. Is there a plan for him as far as going to tackle physical contact next week? You're not going to be wearing a jersey or anything?
No, he's good to go.
On the defensive side of the ball, how would you describe the vision for Brian Brzee? He was drafted when it was a different defensive staff. That seems to have a little bit of versatility. What's kind of vision for him?
Yeah, I think his versatility is going to be valuable up front, and then his ability to rush the passer. And I think what Brandon does an awesome job of is creating one-on-one opportunities for these guys up front in passing situations. And so, he'll be able to line up in a couple different ways, create matchups. And so we're really excited about that.
Do you see him as somebody with the potential to surprise and stand up, but then also, be kind of the 3-4 end, or is that still to be?
Yeah, I think a lot of the trench is more, we'll see how this thing goes. We're excited about it. Obviously, we didn't get as much exposure to those guys during OTA, so training camp will be awesome to see them.
During the break, Brandon Cook kind of organized some workouts to quarterbacks. What was your reaction to that? Did you like to see it? What do you make of a player and players doing that?
I just think Brandon, one of the things that attracts us to him is obviously his ability to still play the game of football at a really high level, but his leadership is phenomenal and his impact on a team. And so obviously that was a big piece of bringing him here. We think he's going to help our team in so many ways on the field and off the field. And so he's done an awesome job. I think the offseason is always a fun time for the players. They do get to get away and spend time with family and friends, but it's always fun how they naturally kind of connect and overlap at different places just to get a little bit extra work. And I think that's the sign of a really connected team.
What type of balance are you looking for in a training camp in terms of the back and forth with offense and defense? Defense gets to take away, that means somebody offense.
Yes.
What are you kind of hoping for in terms of the balance?
Yeah, I think the fun part of training camp is there's a back and forth battle, and there's going to be highs and lows on both sides of the ball, and that's natural. And so I think the most important thing is you want to see the back and forth. You want to see success on both sides of the football. Even when you talk about special teams, see success on both sides of that. You just want to see the back and forth throughout it.
I know we're kind of wrapping up, but as we start a new chapter here, any thoughts on the gold jerseys or the white helmets or anything?
I love it all. Love it all. It's been a fun process to see Bum and so many of the guys who are part of the equipment staff and this organization kind of continue to evolve and build. And I know certainly the players are really fired up about it.
He was kind of talking about this, but what do you feel like you and your staff can really make a difference in year one in terms of, I don't know, if it's resetting energy or obviously winning more games, but like what's kind of the big picture energy that you want to change that?
Yeah, I think as you go through this process, transitions happen. It's about connecting as people, giving people a vision for how they can be as successful as they can be. And I think that's our goal, is to put these guys in a really good position to be successful. And we're excited about teaming up.
Kellen, what are your thoughts on guarding caps in games? I know immediate thought is,
Yeah.
there's a lot of it. But I mean, have you talked to any players? How do you feel about it?
We just talked about it in team meeting. Obviously, it's available for guys. And so it's a tool that, if someone feels more comfortable wearing them, we obviously have made it available to them. And so we're good to go. It's certainly become something that's happened the last few years in this league. And if guys want to use it, they use it.
You feel it growing?
Have they?
Do you feel it growing? Do you feel players still somewhat apprehensive?
There's been a few. I think it's still in a smaller phase, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Kellen, we've talked a lot about what you're excited for throughout training camp, but what do you hope to know by the end of the first day tomorrow? Just to survive the heat?
I think operation is a big part of this, and that our guys operate at a really high level. A lot of this has been built through the offseason program, and now it's time to go. And so we want to see these guys run around, being fast, decisive. They understand a lot of the schemes already been put in during offseason program. So a lot of what we're doing the first week, they've already done it a number of times. And so just trust ourselves and go.
Is operation like cadence, progression, or is there other aspects?
Yeah, cadence, progression, all those different things. I think just the practice flow that our guys start feeling a routine and understand the expectations and how we practice and the energy that you bring and the finish that you play with and all those little things.
There's 11 practices before going to California. 9 of them are open to fans. Why was that an important gesture, or not more than gesture? Why was that an important action thing, as opening up so many practices?
Yeah, that was just an important aspect of ours. We want to be here in Metairie, to be in the heat, to be back home as we go through this, but the fan experience is what's special. So many of us have grown up around training camp, and shoot, I went to Seattle Seahawks training camp practices and growing up. And so you remember those experiences of kids getting to watch the NFL players and go through that process. And so we want to create as many opportunities for this community to rally together and spend time with us.
Are there any plans towards the idea of there's been in the past some evening practices at Loomis Stadium and things like that? Has that been something that's important?
We'll see how it goes. Right now, we're mostly just in Metairie. We'll go to Orange County for a few days, and then we'll come back to our facility. But we'll see.
Colin, I'm just curious, did you get your Super Bowl ring?
I have not gotten it yet, but I've seen pictures, and yeah, I didn't make it, but Nick FaceTimed me and gave me a bunch of crap for not being there. So.
The intentionality of some of the things you guys do, and really pointing out some things that might seem a little minute. And you have so many guys who feel like they might have to flash or make a play, or make the roster, whatever it might be. How important is it to get them to kind of hone in on getting back to the fundamentals and really being intentional with everything they do?
I think the fundamentals is something that we've just hammered from the beginning, how important it is. We can draw up plays, we can do fun blitzes, and do all the scheme things we want. Fundamentals are the starting point and the foundation of everything. And so we've really hammered it with both sides of the football and special teams. One of the unique things for us is, we have defensive guys do ball security. We have offensive guys do tackling drills because we think it's important that, when we make a pick, make an interception on defense, the expectation is the ball security is the same as Alvin's ball security. And if we happen to have to make a tackle on offense, we're making the same tackling expectations DeMario has. And so I think our guys have really embraced that. All right. Thanks, guys.
You know what?
See ya.
Yeah.
Don't you ask them.
82.
Starting with